Welcome to Get Mental with Dr. Dean. This is episode 5, and it's part 1 of a series on grieving. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share these videos. Please remember some disclaimers. This is for information and educational purposes only. This is not health or mental health advice. I am not your counselor or therapist, and this does not constitute a client, counselor, or therapist relationship. If there's a mental health emergency or crisis, please call 988-911 or go to your nearest emergency room. So this is part 1 of grieving. Please know there is no right or wrong way to grieve. There may be some things that could be a little bit helpful and things to consider when grieving. And I'm going to go over some of these thoughts I have regarding grieving. I recently lost a great friend who suddenly passed away, which shifted the focus to grieving this week versus the anger management video I had planned. So, 3 big concepts to consider with grieving. So, number 1, be careful with seeking an answer to why. We'll get more into that here momentarily. Number 2, consider how heavy the load is at first, and maybe for some time as well. Again, everyone's load can feel different, and how heavy it is can last for different amount of time. And number 3, focus on connections, connecting with others, connecting those you care about, care for, and care for you. So why? Often asking why almost feels like just this urge to understand it, right? To get to a point where it makes sense. That's the way I equate the term understanding, right? Or to understand some things that it makes sense to me, right? That I can come to terms with it. And the challenge with why is that sometimes there's no answer that will ever make sense. There's no answer that will ever bring some sense of closure, if you will. And sometimes when people seek for that answer to why, they get stuck. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that's bad, but it's I don't know if it's the best thing for me or for anybody else. I often consider the why as a should in disguise, right? If my daughter hits my son and I ask, why did you hit him? More likely than not, there's no explanation she's going to give me. Then I'm going to say, oh, okay, yeah, it's all right that you hit him. I'm probably going to say, well, you shouldn't have hit him. Should have came to me. Should have came to your mom, and let us handle it if he did something that upset you. But that's the challenge with why is that it's often a should in disguise. And that's the challenge with grieving is if why and it's well he shouldn't have died and shouldn't have gone that way, should have lived longer, whatever the case may be, I might get stuck on that. So an invitation to focus on acceptance while trying to avoid getting lost and finding an answer to why, uh, particularly because there's often no answer that will ever make sense. Number 2, consider how heavy the load is at first. And again, for some folks, that load may be heavy for quite some time. So this is old saying or metaphor of baggage, right? We all have baggage and uh, things in our life result in baggage, things that we carry around and things that impact how we interact with others. And when we lose someone that we care about, that initial grieving can feel like this bag is the size of a 12-foot tall room, and it's just so hard to move through life dragging this around and trying to get going, and it just feels like it weighs us down. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's a very normal, natural experience to have. And the hope is that over time, and with hopefully a focus on acceptance, that this bag can just get smaller and smaller and smaller, that the grieving is more manageable, and that we can walk through life easier carrying this because it'll always be there. right? There'll always be some sense of some thoughts or some emotional component to it of sadness related to this grieving and this loss, and that's okay. It's normal. It's natural. But the concept just we want to manage that grieving so that it gets more and more bearable, tolerable, and that we are able to move forward in life with it. Number three, focusing on connections. Connect with others. Connect with those that care about you, that you care about. Call them, meet up with them. There's no reason why we cannot maintain some form of contact with those that we care about and that care about us. And I truly believe that can help with the grieving process. And if you find that those you are surrounding yourself with or connecting with are not helping much, please consider finding another group, finding other individuals. There's that old song, excuse my singing, something along the lines of "My mama told me you better shop around," and I think that applies to many things in life, right? If something's not working, find something else, connect with others. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until next time, make sure you love those in your life.